Linux Out Loud is firing up our mics, connecting those headphones as we search the community for themes to expound upon. We keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and we have fun doing it. This week, we're spouting off about an alternative to headphones when you don't have a headphone jack and you need that audiobook to sleep. Let's get into episode 77. With me this week is Matt and Nate again. It's so exciting to actually have you back 2 weeks in a row. How are you doing?
Fantastic. No complaints. Not even a one. Not even Matt. I'm actually so happy to see Matt today.
I was going to say, I do have a complaint. Nate's back.
Oh. Nate's back. That's your complaint. I know you said that the title should not have been Nate is back. It should have been Nate is back. Dang it, or something along those lines.
Frowny face emoji.
Unfortunately, Nate is back.
Oh, there you go. Yep. Unfortunately, Nate is back.
It'll probably be the lowest numbers of all the shows that we do. It'll probably
I don't think
probably the
so.
worst
There
one.
were several comments about people saying that they were missing you. So.
Oh, what they throw at me?
I think the banter is actually a lot funner with you here. I enjoy it when it's all three of us more than when it's just two.
It's like, what'd you miss me with? Banana peel?
Turtle shell.
Turtle shell. Turtle power. Well, we're all over the place, aren't we? And Matt will be all over the place since he just got an e-bike. How'd the setup go?
Yeah. That was actually a whole lot easier than I thought it was going to be, because when these guys claim like X amount is pre-assembled, you're always like, yeah, how much of that's actually true? It was probably about 85% pre-assembled. So it was literally cut the box open, put on the disc brakes that they had on the front tires and put on the handlebars, pedals. The only problem I had was the chain came off the derailleur in the back and got wedged in between the frame. So that was kind of a fun trying to get.
Was that something you also assembled on there? Because that was going to be my next question. How many things that you assembled fell off when you were using it?
Absolutely nothing. Thank you.
Really? Oh,
I'm not you, Nate.
Well, Wendy,
I actually put my things together.
Wendy, that means I owe you $5.
Okay, I'll collect later.
Well, that's a cheap,
a cheap bet.
That's cheap. Where's the fun in that? So overall, no, it was a pretty quick and easy setup. I'm actually surprised by the quality overall of what I got for the price, because most e-bikes, price range wise, at least what they consider budget, is about the price of a fairly good laptop, which is like $1,200 to $1,500, which I was not willing to spend. I got this one for about $499, give or take. There's different classifications for like e-bikes. There's like class 1, class 2, class 3. It's all based on speeds and regulations and blah, 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 before you have to get like licenses and motorized vehicle stuff and all that junk. So the one I got was $499 plus shipping was like, I think they cost me like $20. It wasn't like super expensive.
That's not bad.
No.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So I've gone about probably 10 or 12 miles on it, just testing it out and stuff. 4 miles in 15 minutes. So for city stuff, and kind of in between, nice and quick. That's really all I needed it for the most part, barring the car issues and all the other junk. So
I know your office that you record out of is different than the home you live in, correct?
That is correct.
You don't sleep in your office underneath the desk anymore? Is that what's changed?
No, I don't. No, only at my real job do I do that.
I guess sometimes it has to be done, right?
Right.
So what is the distance between your office and home? Can you use your e-bike?
Yeah.
Can you use your e-bike for that?
Yes, I can. I'm about usually driving a vehicle because of the amount of stoplights and everything else. I'm on the other side of town, which is about 4 miles, give or take, 4.5 miles, something like that.
Okay.
So it's not super far. I haven't done like I'm going to ride this to see how far I can go kind of stuff yet. Like I know what I needed it for and what I needed to get it for, and that's all I kind of really cared about.
Yeah.
So you didn't put a link there, so I can't see the kind of bike that you have. So is it an e-bike plus a pedal bike, so you can do both? It's like a hybrid. Okay.
It's
And then does it have?
yeah, it's got pedal assist and it's got throttle. So
Okay.
it's got either or.
So then,
depending which one you want.
Does it have regenerative braking as well? So when you brake, it actually creates like it stores like that kinetic energy back into electrical energy.
No.
Okay.
No. It does not. It was just regular disc brakes.
Okay.
For it.
He
as
wasn't
opposed to-
paying to have that additional feature because I'm sure that's not cheap.
I was thinking we could probably do that. How far away do you live from Michigan?
I'm too close regardless. I could be on the other side of the planet and drill a hole through it, and it's still too close.
Hey, he was gonna say Nate was saying
bet.
that he was gonna help you retrofit your bike to have like more features.
I bet.
And I don't need Tim Allen anywhere near me.
Oh, come on. It's going to be fun when it explodes.
It won't explode likely. Maybe the battery might like have it. No, it will. I promise you, it will not explode. It might have a rapid unscheduled disassembly or maybe vent with flame, but it will not explode.
And I'll let you be the test dummy then. I mean, we need a dummy, so there you go.
There we go.
This is going to be interesting. Okay, so I need a plane ticket to go watch all of this when it happens.
Watch to the train wreck that's going to be.
Yes, exactly.
We'll do it as a YouTube
Definitely.
short so you can get through all the boring working stuff up until the very end.
I don't think a short is going to be long enough because I'm going to need the bickering between you two as it's being assembled. Like, of course, I don't mind that stuff because I do this show with you, so I hear it all the time, even the stuff that doesn't make the show.
So you'd probably have to edit out, or someone's going to have to edit out all of Matt's awful language, and then we can probably...
Yeah, because it's only Matt's awful language, no one else.
Pot meat kettle on my two co-hosts on that one. That's a load, and they know it.
I would never.
Wendy is a perfect angel, and I think I might be somewhere, maybe not perfect, but not far off.
Pretty darn close, yeah.
I'm at least a candidate for sainthood.
If you're... Never mind, I'm going to leave that one alone. You're going to want to edit this part out, Wendy.
Okay.
Anyway, so overall, I'm pretty pleased for the price, the performance stuff. Overall, it's really just what I needed to get around town for the most part. And like kind of if I need to use it for work, cool, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It works like 7 miles. So like a half an hour, whatever. It's not that big of a deal to me. Winter will suck, not gonna lie, when you're up north, it does suck with that, but whatever. It's more of a if public transportation or other things aren't available more than anything else, though.
You've got something.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
but
I can't speak for where you live, but at least in where I reside, if you see somebody on a moped in the wintertime, they refer to those as DUI-cycles because you don't have a license anymore.
Oh no, I definitely have the license though. Anyway, it really does boil down to more of a financial choice too. The price of vehicles, new or used, right now is just not something.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
I am not having that level of payment right now. I just, despite what Nate thinks I might make for a salary.
Well, if you weren't paying all those legal fees from all those fights you got into, right? Is that what it is? Oh yeah.
Only the ones I get in with you.
No, I haven't seen a dime.
Exactly. None of the other ones will either.
Yeah.
While I was busy setting up a new e-bike, Nate, you were pedaling your way along with OpenSUSE and something about 18 months of update gap or something.
Yes, and pedaling along would be a great way of describing it too, because it's a 2010 era netbook that would just kind of I took off the shelf because, well, the SSD in my boy's computer, it failed, and it's not that old, and I don't understand why it failed. Got real weird, the entire drive was intact except for his home directory, which is really also weird. But anyway, that aside, So he lost some Minecraft worlds, but whatever. I probably should have put some sort of backup on there. Bad me. Bad sysadmin me. But now he learned his lesson, so there we go. Anyway, so we took this netbook that I got.
Yes, the sysadmin did.
Yeah. It was a 2010 era netbook that I got in 2013. So it was terribly slow and kind of uncomfortable even 10 years ago. It's got an Atom processor on it. It still has a spinning rust hard drive, which I'm impressed hasn't failed yet. But it was a gift that Uncle Sam sort of gave me because Uncle Sam was going to throw it in the dumpster because it had a broken screen. So I took it, I fixed it, and then I've been using it on and off since. It's a great machine for taking notes or whatever. Terrible machine for using the World Wide Web, but I mean it'll do LibreOffice great. You can even play Tux Racer on it. So there's
Ooh.
If it can do that. Anyway, so I
think anything can play TuxCart. We have some older laptops around here. I think TuxCart can run on a potato.
Yeah, it's because they want it to. They actually try. That's one good thing about the open source world. They actually try.
Definitely.
Anyway, so I went to check and see that when it was updated last, and it was February of 2022. And I'm like, I wonder if this thing is actually going to work. So it didn't update. Like I started the update like sometime in the evening, and because it's not only a slow computer using a spinning rust hard drive, I didn't get to check it out until the next morning. When it was done, I rebooted it, and it came back like nothing ever happened. I was impressed that it was able to sustain that kind of gap in updates. I'm like, I was just impressed. So that was an impromptu experiment that wasn't really planned, at all, hence the impromptu. And then it worked out great. So it's actually being used again because the kids want to use it all of a sudden, suddenly to play with again. So nothing crazy, just little, goofy games and whatnot. Can't play Minecraft.
I'm waiting for the comment about, see, you couldn't do that on Arch.
So I didn't have to say it because you did. Look at that.
Yeah, because we knew you were good. You knew what you were insinuating.
I was not going to. So I don't have to say.
That is a blunt lie, and it.
What I'm going to say is not a lie. I don't have to say, wow, Arch can't do that because it doesn't matter. I'm just saying what OpenSUSE can do. It doesn't mean others can't do it. It just means OpenSUSE can do it. And that's what makes it really solid technology. That's it.
I will totally agree with you as far as OpenSUSE being solid technology for the technologist.
Correct. It's just an anecdote that I can share with everybody of how happy I am about my just yet another great OpenSUSE experience.
So what are the internals on that netbook? I know upgrading it to an SSD would definitely help.
Got 2 gig of RAM.
As far as like speeds. Oh, dang.
Yep. It's got 2 gig of RAM. It has barely enough RAM barely enough horsepower to do really anything. So it's DDR3 RAM that's in there. I did upgrade it to that 2 gig, which was just, crazy fast. And yeah. But the battery on it, even though it's an old battery, it'll last a long time.
The battery's still good. Yeah, no wonder it won't do the web really well if all it has is 2 gigs of RAM, because I'm definitely over that right now. And I know we've talked about RAM in the past, but I'm regularly with editing and stuff hitting half of my 64 gigs easy, sometimes exceeding that. So yeah, you're not doing much on that.
Yeah.
Except for TuxCart, because like I said, TuxCart can run on a potato.
So it does have an Intel Atom N550 at 1.5 gigahertz. So that's 2 cores with 4 threads. So that's something.
Blazing, yeah.
Blazing fast, speed demon.
Well, it depends on what you. Compared to like a 20-year-old laptop from today,
Right.
It's actually
right. And with that CPU, if you had more RAM, then it would handle stuff a heck of a lot better. It's not like if you're just doing some document type work or anything like that CPU can't handle it. You're definitely not gaming on it, or Steam gaming on it anyway.
Actually, it plays Matt's favorite game. What is it? Oh, Among Us. It plays Among Us really well. But Among Us is just cartoon 2D top down ish.
Yeah.
So it's not really that's not really like difficult for it to do. But yeah, you can in the even in the screen capture that I took a picture of it because I was impressed. But of the desktop when it came up, it's Among Us is there on the desktop because the kids are playing it.
I see that. Yeah, I've got cubiclenate.com pulled up and I'm looking at your article. See that?
Short one.
Shorter article, definitely for sure. If you're watching the video version of it, it's probably scrolling by right now. So.
And that wasn't a plug for Among Us, but it's still a fun game to play, even if Matt is,
It is a fun game to play. We've only played with Matt once. I really think we need to figure out how to do that again. Hey, Matt, our team is determined to make it to Worlds again. So I know we're probably going to need a fundraiser if they put in the work and achieve that goal. So maybe we can play Among Us for some fundraising.
That sounds like a fabulous idea.
Yeah, I like it. And
I can hear
I know you're
the
a softie,
excitement.
so you'll do it for the kids. You won't do it for us, but you'll do it for the kids.
That's right.
Wendy, you might want to play that Peter Griffin meme where he trips over the curb and complains about his knee. Exactly. You're kicking me in the knee right now. You know that, right?
I do, and I'm doing it on the podcast so that, it's out there.
Just a little pressure,
intentional.
little public pressure, yeah.
Hey,
Totally
the kids actually have to finish putting in all of their work and actually achieving
know.
that goal first, but there it is. It's out there.
He's excited.
Maybe.
I can feel the excitement.
Maybe.
You can feel the excitement. I'm excited. Matt's not excited.
Maybe is all you're going to get. Yeah, and I might do it kind of like what I did last year at the very end of the year within the last 3 hours of the year.
Yeah, there's that. Except for, okay, so we will know if we've our champion by the beginning of January, Southern Idaho champion. We won't know if we are Idaho champion until sometime in February. But regardless, if they do take Southern Idaho championship again, then they'll be fundraising regardless either way, because there'll still be the option to go to Texas or California. So they will put in the work, and I will tell them that as part of their enjoyment and your punishment, I mean your helpfulness, that
contribution.
If they
your
achieve that goal, then we can.
I will do one better. I will do a fundraiser by playing Among Us for them to go to Worlds if they go to Worlds.
Okay,
if that
sounds
becomes
good.
If that becomes a
can
thing.
you play Among Us while on your e-bike? Would that be a possibility? Could we like?
Nate, never mind. I can't say what I want to at the moment. No.
You could put it.
What is this show going to be titled? All over the place. That's
Yes. That's every show, Wendy. Let's be real.
okay. Yes, every show is all over the place. Some shows are more all over the place than others, and this one has ADHD written all over it.
And it's okay.
I'm undiagnosed.
I am diagnosed and self-medicated with coffee.
I'm self-medicated with alcohol.
Wendy, I'm sure this game didn't take 18 months for you to play, but the Crimson Trails from DL344. So,
yes, this was pretty interesting. So if you haven't seen DL344, definitely go check it out, and I will drop a link in the show notes. But they always have a gaming section on the show, and this time 344. So I still think it is this last show that went out. Well, no, not by the time that this goes out. I don't know. Timelines are all messed up. Anyway, on that episode, they talk about a game called Crimson Trials, which is an audio-only game. It is made for those who are visually impaired, but even as Ryan suggests, as someone who has good vision, I mean, other than being a bit nearsighted, It was really, really cool to play. And I took Jill's suggestion, and as I was playing the games, I closed my eyes. So it's pretty simple as far as gameplay goes. You're just using the arrow pad on your keyboard. It walks you through some instructions, and then you go to play the game. So if you are shooting at taking it, they're monsters, something like that, when you hear them, and you're going to want to use headphones or really, really good speakers. Headphones are better because it's done in stereo, obviously. But then shooting them or protecting the ship, pod, whatever it is that you're in. And I found it to be a really cool gaming experience. So much so that I was like, hey, kids, come check this out. And all 4 of my kids played it at the same time. This game is awesome because you don't have to install it. It actually can play directly from the browser. They do have like a basic visual, so the name of the game on there, but you can have anybody play this. And I love this idea so much that I want to make sure that the rest of the robotics team gets to play this game because I really think it fits into the goal of our robotics year, where it's taking the arts and science together, STEAM, and at the same time saying, hey, this is one way that you can appeal to people that can't play Among Us, since we were talking about it, or some of those other games. It's a really interesting concept that I know they make games for other people. It's just not one that I'd ever thought about because it's not a game I'd actually looked into. So thanks to DL for bringing this up, and actually thanks to whoever suggested on the form to DL to bring up some audio-only games for people that are visually impaired. Absolutely loved it. I think I'll be playing it some more. I'm horrible at gaming. I'm horrible at hitting the button in time, so I didn't do very well, but it's a fun one to continue playing again and again. I might get faster. I might get better.
Well, I mean, it sounds interesting, and I think next time Matt talks, I might play it instead of paying attention to him because it's probably going to be more interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I won't do that. That would be very rude, and I will pause my game to be here. But it's an interesting idea. I never actually thought about games for the visually impaired, computer games for the visually impaired before. So this is like the first I didn't see that episode yet, but it's the first or listened to it rather. I've heard of such a thing, and it seems like such a good idea. I mean, there's a lot you could do that, and you can use a couple of senses, and I mean, there's lots of neat things that you can go. I mean, down this path of visually impaired games. I'm sure this is just one of many, but it's the first I've heard of.
That is really cool because there's not a lot of games that touch on that particular end of the spectrum as far as like bringing those type of experiences to people who normally wouldn't be able to have those experiences. So like if you're visually impaired, being able to play a game, obviously kind of hard. You can play it by sound. So this focuses on sound. I know there was one game that I recommended kind of a while ago, which was called The Quiet Man, which kind of, the game has like 0 sound because your main protagonist is actually deaf. So they went into it with a intentional sound design of not really having sound in order for you to kind of feel what it's like to be that protagonist more.
Figuring out your world without sound. Yeah. And then you take something like this, which is a first-person shooter game, and the only thing you can rely on is your ears. Yeah.
So there are a few games that have done it, but it is definitely cool to see more people trying this. And the one thing I do like about this one better, though, is the fact that you can basically play it from anything, where it's like the other one requires, the typical Steam Deck type gaming computer stuff or whatever. So that is really cool to see, though.
Absolutely.
So as we find more, I'm kind of curious as to the rabbit hole the team will go down when I show this to them the first time. I actually meant to show it on our last meeting that we were together, and there's just so much to do right now that I forgot. So I need to write myself a note. So tomorrow when we're at robotics, I can make sure that I show them this game. But it's so cool. I just love seeing different takes on this. And like some of the games you share, Matt, I don't want the same old. And even though I can play a visual game, it's nice to be able to use some of those other senses in the gameplay and different form of gameplay than just the usual.
I'm just impressed by the creativity in it. I mean, it's really
Yeah, and the audio track in it is really pretty good. I love the sound, and the atmospheric sounds in it is what makes it so much more difficult, because as you're going through it, you're hearing all of these clangs and bashes and different sounds, and you're trying to pick out just what you need in order to not die by the monster or not have your pod destroyed. Like I said, I died. I was not very good at it, but I'm also not quick on the keyboard either, which is why I typically don't play games like that. Interesting path to go down. We'll see what else comes up in this realm of games. And I would love to hear from the community. What are some of the non-typical games that you're playing? Whether it has to deal with being visually impaired or some other realm. I love to see how different ways of doing things and how you're playing games.
Yeah.
Sound isn't the only thing in games. I talked last week about how I am missing the headphone jack. Actually, I think I've repeated this over and over and over and over again.
Yes,
it's probably
yes,
a
you
running
have.
mantra.
Yeah.
Ever since I got my OnePlus 9 that is missing the headphone jack. And Nate, you came across this really interesting concept. It kind of, the first time I saw it, I'm like, whoa, that's a bit weird.
Mhm.
It's a pillow that not only helps monitor your sleep, but it has a speaker inside of it. And yes, you connect this pillow to power, and it does take an additional app that you have to install. So one of the things I did after you had shared this is I looked up the app. And as far as apps go, it's not horrible. I expected this thing to be like, we're taking all of your data, we're sharing it with multiple third parties, and it's not encrypted. But that's not the case. They don't share it with third parties. The data is encrypted. Now, they are gathering your personal information, and they are tapping into the health and fitness app because that's part of your sleep tracking. I don't know how much of that has to be turned on, but what I really want to know is how in the world you came across this.
Not sure on the how did I come across it. Sometimes like I go down a rabbit hole and something just happens to just kind of catch my eye, and then I go down another rabbit hole, and then that catches my eye, which takes it down to like a whole nother branch. It's not related to the previous two. Anyway, I don't know how I got there, but I was thinking to myself, not so much the temperature controlling or the sleep monitoring or anything like that, but like a smart memory foam pillow with a built-in speaker. That almost sounds compelling. Now, I don't know how loud it would be, I don't know, or whatever, but like if I can think of more than one instance when it would have been handy to have had that to like watch a movie or something, back when I used to be married and whatnot, and I wouldn't be so disturbing at night. I don't know, but it's just a thought. and so that was just a neat idea, because you don't have to worry about something in your ear. And if you set the volume, the volume at the right level, then you could potentially not disturb, Magneto at night for you to have, some sort of music or whatever. I don't know how loud it would be, but
he definitely doesn't want to hear my book. So that is something I'd be curious. How loud is this actual device? Right. I know he has complained when I've had an earbud in and it gets bumped, it gets turned up, and then he wakes up in the middle of the night thinking that somebody's in the house and talking and like, what's going on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's just my audiobook. I think for the most part, he's gotten used to that overall it doesn't happen much anymore. So I would be interested. I need to go look at the reviews.
Yeah,
as to how loud it gets, but
right, or how well you can hear it.
A very strange concept, yeah.
It's probably a bad idea, but it just kind of tied back into 2 weeks ago and last time, and so I thought that'd be just interesting, like follow-on discussion of some of your troubles with earbuds and headphones and whatnot. It might be an alternative way of solving that problem. There might be even better solutions out there. This just happens to be the one that I stumbled upon. $70 is a little bit salty, I think, for a pillow. I mean, although I've spent quite a bit on a pillow before. Pillow plus speakers, maybe it's pretty reasonable. I don't know.
Well, I guess the biggest downside right now is I do have a pillow that's a little bit more expensive, but it has a hole in the center because I've got tons of jewelry on my ears. So to not put pressure on all of my ear piercings, then there's a hole in the center of my pillow. So that one wouldn't have that. And how does that speaker like sit? I don't know where it, yeah, it's curious.
Well, it does say bone conducting speaker. So I don't know how that's going to work exactly. So it'd be obviously like vibrate against your head, I guess. I don't know. Some people like those bone conducting speakers because they are not
block your normal peripheral like
Right.
hearing and stuff.
Right.
So you can actually.
And I've never
still hear
used
it.
a pair of those. Have you, Matt?
I have. They're a little. Do you remember the neck Bluetooth headphones I used to have that
Yeah.
you'd put around your neck, and most people would usually like wear them over their ear, like over the top of the ear, and just have them hang. It's kind of like that. Is about the best, and with like the volume on high, but it's a little weird because you feel it kind of going around, like the feeling of the music is like in and around your upper ear. It's really hard to explain, but it sound quality wise is like if you just have a pair of really loud headphones.
Okay.
It's weird to say you feel the music, but you kind of do because of the way the tech works.
Because the vibrations that you can
yeah.
feel.
Yeah. So like, while it's not like outwardly loud, like what you're hearing is loud enough, but it doesn't obstruct what you would be in around your surroundings.
So if this has that bone conduction as far as transferring sound over, then it shouldn't interrupt your partner or whatever because they're not laying on the pillow unless, they come and steal your pillow.
Then that's on them.
Which something tells
that's not.
I was going to say, which something tells me you'd probably kick Magneto out of the bed if that was the case.
No, he's never stolen my pillow, but we have very, very different pillows. So I don't think mine would be comfortable for him anyway.
Well, on a total aside, frequently bought together is this smart pillow and electric salt and pepper grinders. So I don't know how they're related at all, but that's what it's recommending.
Just more weird stuff, huh?
Just nonsense there. Yep.
Some more typical Amazon recommendations.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? And what is some other weird tech that you guys have come across? I didn't even think that something like this existed, but apparently some other people have the same thing that I do where they need to listen to a book or listen to some music to help them fall asleep, stay asleep. And it's one way to solve the problem that doesn't have a cord coming out of your ear. And what do you do with that cord? Or is your in-ear headphones going to die if they're Bluetooth because they only last so long and most of them couldn't make it through an entire night. So interesting way to solve the problem.
Yeah, I was going to say there's been some weird stuff. I mean, just look at all the stuff Nate does.
Very much so.
Weird, yeah.
So you are usually the king of weird tech, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, when it comes to like this end of tech, like headphones and stuff.
You sent me a link to a cyber deck that was pretty weird. I really enjoyed the video, but nonetheless.
Oh well, the cyber deck was just because it's DIY and you like to do DIY stuff,
right.
So that was the only reason I sent that. Honestly, I do like the concept of the cyber deck stuff, but like, no, too much work. Like
time. When do you have the time to do things like that? That's the biggest issue.
Nate, you might like to do stuff like that. I'm good. Like, too much soldering, too much printing, too much waiting, too much, just no.
Those all sound really delightful to me. I don't know what the problem is.
I know that not any area of interest of mine. We've been over this. Why do you think I sent Ryan my stuff to go fix? Because I don't want to.
You give away the best parts of owning technology, but okay, fine, whatever. Now, I did find something that I thought was really cool, and I don't have a link for it on this computer. It's on another one. I'm sure I could dig through the history. But it is I have a very basic like bed, and it's just kind of boring. And since I can choose whatever it is that I want, I was thinking, I saw this bed that had built-in like USB A and C charging as well as like LED lighting, and you can make it whatever color you want. It'd be really obnoxious. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And
Rainbow vomit on your bed. That is a very interesting concept.
I don't know if I can link it in with my Home Assistant.
So is it just the bed frame then?
Yeah, I will find that link now. But yes, it is. Yeah.
I know I have seen lamps that now have chargers on them for being able to charge phones or whatever, all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, there are lots of different designs. If you just look at them, they're pretty cool. Some of these are cooler than others, and none of these are the ones that I saw. But anyway, I'll find that link at some point, and I'll put it in there.
So I guess, is that the world that we are now in, where everything needs to have charging attached to it?
All right, so here's what I'm thinking. So very often I'll be like writing something, and then late at night, like just like thoughts or an article or something, and then I want to put the computer someplace. And it'd be nice if it was charging at the same time. So lately, I've just been putting it underneath the bed, like on one of those like exercise step things, that I haven't used, but it's just there. And so I put it there because I just don't want it on the floor. Don't know why. In case there's a flood, which wouldn't be possible. But anyway, never know. The washing machine can go crazy and just start spitting water. But anyway, I thought it'd be kind of cool if I could just like be done with it and put up above my head on the headboard and have it charging there instead. Or like a USB keyboard, I could put that up behind my head as well, or whatever, when I'm done watching something. Because very often I like to fall asleep lately anyway with like Star Trek: The Next Generation on. It's just kind of like comfort food, but whatever. I don't want to learn something at night. I just want to like, make my
unwind, chill, watch something fun.
Like, like it keeps going yap, 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 yap in here. And sometimes it's nice just to get it to shut up. And Matt totally understands when I start talking, but so I like to put on like Star Trek or something I've seen before just to get my head to shut up, because music doesn't do it for me.
So I think I found one possibly similar. So it does have the charging in the middle there, and the lighting that is inside of it. I have to say, I've absolutely started to love the RGB house lights, because I like being able to turn them down, change the color based on what time of day it is. So at night, more the yellow light, during the day, the white light, and the kids have a lot of fun with the multicolors. Heck, that's one of the bulbs back there that's showing the red, and those are the lights that are running the softbox in front of me. The best part about those ones are I don't have to climb up on my desk and flip the switch in the back. I can just use the little remote wherever it is, right here, to just turn it off or change color.
Yeah.
Just like that. All spooky-ish, even though the show comes out after Halloween.
Well, Wendy, I guess that's one way to have your dark room.
There you go. Yep, exactly.
So wait. Can I get this right? Wendy actually has found a use for potentially rainbow-colored vomit.
I have found a use for rainbow vomit, and I think I want to apply that into the lighting of the whole house using the Zigbee protocol. And having I can't remember what the open source version is to connect it all together. But a smart home, mostly smart lights, where they're being controlled.
Home Assistant.
Yes, Home Assistant, through Home Assistant, being able to adjust that. I think that would be fantastic.
So let it be known, Wendy is now a fan of RGB.
RGB vomit.
I just don't want it in my computer. I don't want it in my computer.
So you're gonna have red, green, and blue throughout the rest of the house. So your house has become your case for your computer.
This is what I don't necessarily need. I don't need this. This is ugly. We don't need this.
I'm sorry. I fail to understand what you're saying.
This is great.
So you folks heard it here first. Wendy has now converted to finding a useful thing for RGB. The biggest critic on the network.
So
calling it rainbow colored vomit, which I tend to agree, is now a fad.
What do you got there?
I'm still working on this solution right here. It's basically, I should say, the brand on this is like hardware store brand. It's called like Fiat, F-E-I-T, Fiat Electric. It's a Tuya is the protocol. And it's actually, they're very nice. So this can be like cool white, warm white. Basically, it looks like a regular bulb, like when we have it functioning. The problem is...
that's like the ones that I have in here or over there. It looks like a regular bulb.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But like a regular LED bulb, not like an incandescent bulb. But it
Right.
works really well. Unfortunately, it does require cloud interaction. I think, Matt, maybe I sent you a message about how I was disappointed in myself for doing this. Well, there is a way, which I have not yet quite figured out because, other things get in the way and, I'm undiagnosed, but I'm a little bit ADD-ish about things, undiagnosed. And what I want to do is be able to get these so they'll operate without internet connection. And there is a way to do it. I just have not done that yet. There's a way to capture basically the whole thing. So right now I'm using them in a cloud form, but with Home Assistant, which it will basically, you have to configure some sort of the Tuya developer backend on this, which has access to this, which is frightening. And so I'm able to link Home Assistant with that. And then there's another, it's an extension or whatever for Home Assistant that can actually then there's a way to basically capture and convert these to being local. And so it kind of rewrites something. I think that's what I understand. I might be saying that wrong.
Yeah.
And anyway.
See, and that's why I like the Zigbee protocol is because it's Bluetooth instead of Wi-Fi.
It's actually not even Bluetooth. It's a different protocol. It's actually a Zigbee protocol.
Okay.
Well,
at least that's how they...
Yeah. And
what's the word I'm looking
what's
for?
What's also neat too
Explain
is
it.
Some routers, some wireless access points will not only do, the 802.11, B, G, AC, and whatever. It'll also do Zigbee, and so it will repeat and do all your Zigbee stuff as well. Some newer.
Ooh, I don't think my router will do that. I was actually looking at Zigbee dongles in order to achieve that goal, but that would be really cool to have a router that has that built in.
I think Zigbee uses a mesh communication as well.
Yeah.
So some access points will actually so I'm working on replacing all the access points at work, and the new ones that I'm getting, all of them do Zigbee as well.
Nice.
So
you're the person to talk to when I go to do that.
So I know things from an academic, not an application point with Zigbee at this point.
You're working on the application point right now. So when you get done with this project, then I can not only ask you on the knowledge base, but the real world. How did it work?
You betcha. Anyway, there's a lot of inexpensive IoT-ish devices out there that I think if can be properly contained, I think you can do some really neat things. Me personally, I would actually love to have all the can lights in my house be RGB so that when I feel like it, I can tell the computer red alert and everything will go all Star Trek-y like that. That would be my dream situation. Only my kitchen can do that right now.
So not only do you need to have the light bulbs go red, but you need to have the sound effects with it. And I have seen the light bulbs with the built-in speaker too.
Mm-hmm.
So as part of that red alert, it can play the sound.
So what I was thinking is probably execute a script which would specific appliance-like computers, not my laptop but appliance desktop-like computers, such as my kitchen computer, which has, usually has speakers hooked into it. Right. That and maybe some other devices. I could then have Home Assistant should be able to, and there's gotta be a way to do it. I mean, you have SSH in there, and if you can secure shell into something else and you can do pre-shared keys, I don't see why you can't execute an aplay command with a specific file at specific times. So it should be very easy, asterisk quotes, to get that effect.
Should be. In theory, it should be very easy. So the kids aren't getting their schoolwork done. It's a red alert.
Yes.
Chores aren't done. It's a red alert.
Or I could even put some sensors in the house too. So when you have one of those thunderstorms where it shakes everything. So if it senses that, it just automatically just kicks into red alert. Tornado, whatever, seek shelter. Stuff like that.
Interesting use for the technology. So let's jump back into gaming. And since we've already been talking about space with Star Trek, you've got us a space game this week, Matt.
The best way to describe this game is doing all the things that a multi-billion-dollar purchase company that is called Bethesda apparently can't do. Done by one dude. It is called Spaceborne 2. And it is an open world I hate the term procedurally generated, but randomly generated game as far as like the game world and stuff. And it's a big game. So it's a space combat pirate, be whatever you want style game. It very much reminds me of like there's a game series called X, which it's very much in that kind of ilk as well. There's X3 and X4 Foundations, I think is or X Foundations. Anyway, this particular one is done by one guy, and it has features and functions in it that even games with $1 billion budget, basically like Starfield, can't even do. It takes the modding community to do what Starfield can't do, but that's an entirely different story. So this particular game has space combat, career choices, and however you want to do procedurally generated universe and world. So as an example, in Starfield, when you actually go to land on a planet, you don't fly through the atmosphere yourself and all that stuff. It just doesn't do that. So this game by one guy does that. So like you go from space and you procedurally fly through the clouds and all that stuff onto the planet.
That's
wow.
nuts.
So there's just little stuff like that. It's janky. I'm not going to say it's perfect because it's not. It's an early access game still. But for the fact that it's one guy doing this, and when you compare it to a game that is supposed to be like the next revolution in gaming, I'd say this is more interesting, more revolutionary than the game that it was made by the $1 billion company.
The graphics look
honest.
really pretty gosh dang good. There's no way just looking at this, unless you'd said it was made by one guy, that I would know that.
So like there's ways you can tell, like I believe he was going to start using like AI generated voice acting stuff for like scripting, but it's like, it's one guy. So it's like, I'm not going to really like, it's one of those, like you can't really argue with using the tools that you have available to you.
I'm finding voice actors has to be a bit of a pain anyway.
So as far as that particular aspect, there's a story, but like you don't play these games for the story. You play these games because they're open world and you can kind of just do whatever you want. And that's really the appeal. The best way I've been able to kind of describe this is a one-person development version of No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Which, for anybody that knows what that game is, it's kind of the similar concept, but this is, I don't want to say it's bigger in scale. I would say it's more ambitious given the way that it's done by one person as opposed to a small dev team like No Man's Sky was.
I don't understand how one guy could do all this artwork.
Assets and everything else. Like there's ways to do it. Like he does a lot of work. Like this is what he focuses on. And for a game to have like 2,300 very positive review status on Steam as an early access title.
Yeah, that's good.
That's crazy to me. So, and he's very open with communication. I think he just had an announcement update for, I think 3 dot something not that long ago. And he's very open about when stuff is delayed and why. And it's just everything that you always hear gamers complain about, like, oh, they're not transparent enough. Oh, they don't do this. They don't listen. They don't take feedback, etc. This guy does all of that. So to me, it is a game worth promoting. It plays on the, Nate, for you, it plays on the Steam Deck because that's the one you'll care about. It plays nice on Linux for the rest of us in general. So if you want a little more oomph in the graphical presentation than what the Steam Deck can give you, or better frame rate or whatever, it's definitely there. There's jank. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It's an early access title. I'm more willing to give the benefit of the doubt on some of the kind of the jank because it's a one dude project.
Right.
And to me, what is currently there is well worth supporting. So that's my take on it.
Well, it looks very cool. I even like the way the ships show damage, like little glowing little bits on it, like as though it's smoldering or whatever. Yeah, that's really cool. It kind of reminded me initially of like Descent Free Space initially, but then as the more I watch, I'm like, well, you also have a first person shooter, not just dogfight type thing, and then there's a lot to explore. It's not just your ship; it's everything. So yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, like its primary stuff is space combat. Obviously, like it's in the name, Spaceborne. But like you get to explore kind of the hub worlds that you're visiting and the planets that you land on and that stuff. So you get to explore the cities and interact with people and all that stuff. So it's really cool to see that kind of level of detail coming out of like a one dev team, basically. And I've been finding a lot more games recently have been able to do a lot of that stuff. There was another one that came out a few years ago called Bright Memory. I think it's called Bright Memory Infinite now, but it originally started out as a one-man project. And you looked at it and it was like, how is this like not even like a AAA studio could make this? Like, so
Nice.
I'm finding a lot of these hidden gems basically that you wouldn't even think like studios that are like 10 times their size. If it's a 10-person team, a studio that's got 100 people couldn't even make it. It's like, it amazes me. And none of these games get the recognition a lot of them deserve. I'm not going to lie. So definitely my take on it. So whatever this costs, if it's $30, I think currently 20. So like, yeah, even as at 20, that's not a bad price for what you get.
Oh, I agree.
So Nate, while I am talking about flying around in space games and whatnot, you seem to be stuck specifically on the ground with a Ender 3 that has is having some heating issues.
Well, it's actually, I think maybe we briefly talked about it before, but it's having some 3D printer issues where it wouldn't start printing. It would just get stuck. And doing some reading, I learned that it's because of a failing MOSFET or whatever in the on the main board, which I just replaced the main board. I just, and I'm like, what's going on here? And so I put the new main board in. Man, it's working great. And all of a sudden it does it again. I'm like, well, what in tarnation is going on here? Anyway, so I did some more digging. I got in, it was like deep digging into the forums, like Reddit forums and whatnot, and Reddit's kind of garbage. But anyway, somebody said to try to basically adjust the temperature up or down on the nozzle because we get stuck at extruder heating. And so, I tried like tapping on it and whatever else, but so just adjust up or down the extruder, the temperature on the nozzle. And so I did that and it started printing. Now, reliably, I can, whether I'm printing from an SD card or from Octoprint, that is a 100% solution for solving that. So I did end up writing an article on cubiclenate.com because the new board didn't fix it. The other board is probably fine. So good thing I didn't do anything.
Throw it away or
something
dispose of it or
like
something.
that.
Yeah.
But basically, it needs a bit of a nudge, not with a boot, but just needs a little bit of a nudge, and it'll start printing, and it prints fine. So there's no problems. It's something to do with, it could be how it's reading the thermistor, because the temperature does kind of go up and down. And I think there's probably something in the code where it's not locking on due to it's like how often it pulls the temperature or something like that, which tells me it's probably a bad algorithm or whatever. But I know I've tried changing the firmware on it. But I think what I learned in this whole thing is I probably need to look at maybe getting a more professional industrial type 3D printer for as much as I'm asking it to do. Or maybe I need to get a different main board for this that's better, maybe something like you used, Wendy, or whatever. But anyway, it's working now. I can reliably do that. And so I've been printing a lot of these little hooks right here for essentially holding these lights, which I'll be putting on my fence. And so it's just big enough that basically the wire goes in there, and then I can string these up along the fence, and it'll, it's actually black, not this red, white, and blue, but along the fence line, so it can be nicely held up there. So I'm not putting any nails or any tacks or anything like that in my brand new fence that I built this spring. I'm just going to use little ABS hooks that go right on there, and I designed it so that it'll take a little bit of a stretch, and then keep good contact. And I just dropped it, and I don't know what would happen to it.
Yeah, you have showed us those in the past. It's been quite a while since you've been able to talk about them, so I'm glad that it's coming along. But I'm sure it's been slowed by this printer issue. And it could be something on the firmware side. Maybe even the thermistor itself could be the issue. But I know you changed that out not too long ago, too.
Yep, even change the whole print head out and everything.
So if it is on the firmware side of things and you decide to go with a different main board, I highly recommend one that runs Clipper. I have absolutely loved it. I love the functionality and the flexibility that gives me. The one thing that I do have to say, and you missed it because it was the episode where I was talking about the install. Maybe I didn't talk about it at all. I don't remember. Of my Starlink router, internet in general. I was so excited we were finally going to get it installed. I just completely shut down the whole network and we pulled the wire, and then I realized, hey, my printer was running and I haven't put a screen on it yet. So I had absolutely no connection to it other than my Wi-Fi, and it now no longer had Wi-Fi connection. Yeah. I think your screen will actually work, but the one that I had that came with the Ender 5 Plus wouldn't connect, and they do have some other ones available that you can use. I just hadn't figured out a solution for that until I was like, oh crap, I have completely destroyed my network. There's no way to get it back up right now, and I have no communication with my printer. That was great.
Couldn't you just change the SSID to match the other one with the same password and then it make it work that way?
I could have, but it was already doing a print. And so there was no way to properly shut down the printer was the biggest issue because it was running. And so I had to shut it down the wrong way in order to change that out so then it was running on the proper network. But had I been thinking, then I would have either canceled the print ahead of time or waited for the print to finish, properly shut it down, and then done the switch. Yeah, but if there had been some sort of monitor on it, then it wouldn't have been that big of a deal because then I could have shut it down properly that way.
Right. I'm just using a Pi 3 right now that has Octoprint on it, so
yeah,
that's how I manage it.
Yeah, and you can manually shut it down from the screen too if you needed to go in and properly shut it down that way. Well, I guess not necessarily Octoprint itself.
And as a little fun aside, there was an extension I found. I should probably write a little article on this too because it's really cool. I have now an icon on my Octoprint screen, the web page, whatever, that I can turn on and off the light that is controlled by Home Assistant. I didn't even know this was an option, but I found a plugin to do this so that I can actually control the light either through Home Assistant or this actually it gave a little key to Home Assistant to actually control it. And I thought that was
I don't have a light on my printer yet, but I also don't have it enclosed yet. That's one of the downsides of having one that flippin' big is it's hard to get an enclosure for it.
Right.
I'm hoping you find a solution for this. I mean, you did find a workaround for it, though you just have to be there in order to bump the speeds or bump the temperature so it'll go ahead and finish printing. But it would be nice if that wasn't something you had to wait for it to get to temperature and then mess with it.
Yeah. It's annoying, but I got a bunch of projects here that I'm going to knock out now that I have it worked out. And as another aside and as a tease, I have another piece of CAD software that I'm using quite successfully. Maybe I talked about this already. I don't think so. But I'm using that. It basically allows me to do everything I want to do in a CAD application, except it is cloud-based. And I don't like that. So it's like Fusion 360. It's a competitive Fusion 360, but it works in Linux.
I've got a love-hate relationship relationship, a love-hate relationship with cloud-based applications. It's nice because then you don't have to worry about what the operating system is. But at the same time, there's something to be said for having that local install that's so nice.
So when the internet goes out, it still works.
Right, exactly. I know Michael has raved about Photopea multiple times, and for the most part, it works great. I use it all the time. But then at that one time where you're trying to get stuff at 11 o'clock at night and all you want to do is go to bed, but you can't go to bed until this one thing gets finished and you can't get into the flippin' application. That's a downside of web-based apps,
now,
for sure.
I will say, I think that it's all happening local. I think that the application itself is cloud-based, but the processing is happening local because...
Oh, nice.
I can't say that for sure, but there's no way that in my mind, I don't think it'd be possible to do with some of the stuff I've been doing for it to be processed elsewhere. I think it's being stored elsewhere and managed on the cloud. But I think that using the different...
all the processing is happening locally.
Yeah, I think.
So you're still going to want a system that can handle a piece of CAD software.
Which pretty much any kind of rudimentary CAD work that people do, any computer that you buy today is going to be able to handle it no problem. I mean, free CAD will work fine on 10-year-old machines at this point. This will probably work just as well.
Except for if it's got 2 gigs of RAM, huh?
Well, I mean, asterisk. Okay, there's an asterisk on that statement. So speaking of checking out things, you're checking out blendOS. So what got you on the blendOS train?
It's all Ryan. It is all Ryan. And I think there's every single episode of DL. It's blendOS, and blendOS. I could probably even cut in a section here where he is saying it multiple times in a row. And he talks it up all the time about how he absolutely loves it. And he's getting all of his work done inside of it. Not necessarily like work, but what he does is able to be done inside blendOS. And I love the idea of it. Last time we did an immutable systems episode, I was a little, I don't know. I don't know. I like having my core, which I'm pulling stuff directly from the repos, but one of the things that kind of got me excited about blendOS is it's built with all of these different distros that you can quickly install inside of a container and then have those applications pull up inside of that container and be able to use them. So it's opening up your available of applications more. Those applications, even if they are, say, in a Debian container or a CentOS container or whatever it is, are still being listed inside of your list of applications in the menu, which I really, really like that idea. So the first time I went ahead and installed it, I can't remember what happened, what I'd noticed, but I had to bail pretty quickly. And then I tried it again on my main desktop, got everything installed, everything was looking great. I knew that, the first time the issue that I ran into is I'm using the OpenCL drivers directly from AMD. So those are the proprietary versions of those drivers. And in order to get access to those, you typically have to get them from the AUR. Yes, blendOS is Arch-based, just like the other immutable file system that you know so well, the one from Steam. So if it is in the main repos, you could run a command that's like system install and then whatever drivers you need in it, it's fine. The whole system can use it. But because the drivers that I need aren't in the main one, they're in the AUR, I couldn't get those installed right away. Doing some research afterwards, I found, okay, you can basically make the system writable for a period of time, being able to install those additional drivers, and it'll be great. So I was the second time trying to get everything installed and running, and I had Steam up and going, and it could see my drives because I had made them so you could see them, put in my password, whatever. So it could see my drives, but it actually wasn't seeing my library, my Steam library on my game drive, which was a bit of an issue. And before, every time I restart up my computer, put a fresh install, I have, and I'm probably saying this wrong, and I'm probably doing blendOS wrong, an fstab file that I save. So that I'm a new system, I just copy my drives with their UUIDs into the new one so that all of my drives automatically show up. There is a game drive, a photo drive, a video drive, a backup drive. Like, yes, there's a ton of drives inside the system and they're actually too small. I need to update all of my storage inside of this. There's not enough. But that's beside the point. I want all of those storage options to be mounted as soon as I start my system because I use them almost every single day. I don't want to log into Steam and realize, gosh dang it, I forgot to mount the game drive, or go to edit a video or something and be like, gosh dang it, I haven't mounted that drive, so it's not seeing what I needed to see at the time. I don't want to deal with that. All of those drives that I use all of the time need to auto mount. And then I didn't know what to do because I'm used to just taking that and pasting it into the fstab file. Then not only do I have access to all of those drives, I don't have to worry about my application seeing them. So like I said, it's probably something I'm doing wrong or something that I need to tweak and adjust in order to get those base settings done. Because I think once you had all of the base settings done, it would run absolutely amazing. The kitchen system right now is actually running blendOS. It's been running blendOS seamlessly since the first time I tried to install it on this system, but it doesn't have any of those weird caveats that this one does. It's not a production system. I am not video editing on it. It doesn't play Steam games. It doesn't have a secondary drive. Yeah. So it's pretty basic, pretty straightforward. I still would love to play with it. I might need to jump into the blendOS Discord and maybe ask a few more questions, or pick Ryan's ear if I can ever actually get a hold of him that's not show related stuff, and find out exactly what he's doing and how he's making some of that work. So I am trying to give some of the immutable file systems a try. I'm just running into some enders. I can't keep the system because if I can't get these very specific things to work that have to work, I guess gaming isn't necessary, but now that I play games, I want them to work. So I'll eventually try it again. You're muted, Matt.
I said, funny how that works when you get games you actually want to start playing them, isn't it?
Right, exactly. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to play them as much as I'd like to. We did that episode where I'm like, hey, the community can come play with us. And then my time went into the toilet and I haven't had time to actually play and log in and play with the community. I do still plan to, but not having those work. And Magneto plays games. So if he goes to log into a game, then that stuff has to work. And I just don't know how to work that around on the immutable file system. Obviously, Steam got it to work. It's working just fine on their version of an immutable file system, but I'm sure that's baked into the OS itself for the device that it's running on.
So for what it's worth, the developer of blendOS, Rudra Saraswat, I think is his last name, he's been on Linux Saloon the last couple weeks.
Oh.
Yeah. So mostly talking about Ubuntu Unity, but anyway, he's been on there. So we kind of talked offline, not like during the show, about doing blendOS.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be fun to, kick the tires of this, but I want to have some sort of a, things to try, like a recipe book or a tutorial or something of things to try that these are the interesting things blendOS does that other distributions don't do as well, or whatever. And it'd be fun to try things out as such. And I might start hinting that maybe you should build it on OpenSUSE instead.
Shock.
I haven't done that yet.
If you guys do that show, I would absolutely love to know when you're doing that and maybe jump in on it.
Oh, sure.
I know I don't make it to Linux Saloon very often, but that is one that definitely has my interest piqued because I think blendOS really does some interesting thing. It has some interesting stuff built into it from the get-go, but I'm not sure with the way I normally use my system, I'm not entirely sure how to get the same functionality on an immutable file system that I need.
I think what I find interesting about it, like the thing that probably interests me the most, and that's just by looking, just very quickly glancing through it. I haven't tried it yet, but if there is an actual easy way to install and run Android apps within Linux, that's very
Yes.
compelling. That's something to try that would be interesting. I'm a little bit leery about being on an Arch base for numerous reasons, but the fact that it is immutable does kind of mitigate a lot of that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like the reverse Chromebook, right? Chromebooks, they worked in order to have regular computer applications on it. And then you have something like blendOS that is saying, hey, here you can now install your Android apps on top of a Linux base, which is nice because some of those applications, their Android versions have better or more fluid functionality than their desktop versions. And so you're able to pick and choose which version you're running, having that overall on the application itself. So I'm curious, when you guys do decide to do this, I really want to know, not necessarily that I'll be running it on my main system before then, because I got to get work done, but I would like to know the answer to some of those questions and find out what I'm doing wrong in order to make those things work. And then maybe that interaction can help with some of the documentation on the website or the how-tos.
There's so many interesting things happening right now that like it's kind of hard to like pick one area and actually run with it. But this is definitely interesting. I mean, essentially, blendOS takes all these different technologies that exist, from what I can tell. And again, this is just from what I've listening to people talk and reading some of the documentation. But it's like it takes these different technologies and puts them together in a nice recipe that's already prepared. So it's like a box recipe, like Cousin T's pancakes or something like that. And and provides a perfect experience. I mean, I don't know if it's perfect, but I mean like a well blended experience. So blendOS.
blendOS, yes, well blended experience. And one of the interesting things is you can have different distributions inside those containers, and being able to run specific applications, or this older version of this thing needs to run on a Debian in order to function better, and being able to put it in that environment where it hasn't been updated, or I don't know. I do like the idea of it. I'm just struggling with it in real world application. So when we get there and we can chat with him, that would be absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked out blendOS, and if you listen to DDL, I guarantee you've heard about it. And you can check out the website in the links. Now it's your turn to toss in your 2 cents on today's topics. Hit the discourse form. Drop us a line under this video or the contact form by visiting tuxdigital.com/contact. If you would like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, see the links in the show description. Find other great shows like Fit and Fueled, Destination Linux, and Linux Saloon. Hey, we were just talking about that. And more at tuxdigital.com. Show off your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. I know they're changing that over. It's been on Redbubble. I have no idea what they're using next, but they said that some designs aren't transferring over to the new store. So if you want to grab some of them, get them now, because they may not be there later. You can also pick up the gamer-centric I Paused My Game to Be Here shirt, which thankfully Matt and Nate both did today. You can also pick up some hashtag Team Wendy swag as Sinister Wendy. I'm super nice, I promise. It's all Ryan on how I got that name.
Evil.
As always, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, or if it's like today's episode, nowhere near on topic, but definitely have fun doing it.